here we are. So we're glad to have people here and in attendance online and here at this meeting. We'll get started with our opening ceremonies. We'll start with our Pledge of Allegiance by Councilmember Call and our prayer or moment of silence by Councilmember Dixon.
Please stand and repeat the Pledge of Allegiance.
Our gracious Father in heaven, as we meet together this evening as West Haven City Council, we are so grateful for this opportunity we have to serve the citizens of our great community. We're grateful for the many blessings that we have here, the freedoms we enjoy, and all of those who protect and serve us. We're especially grateful for our residents. We ask you at this time, Father, to please bless us as we make decisions, that we will be able to understand the decisions we are making and make the correct ones. Also at this time, Father, please bless those in California who are suffering so much from the fires. Please bless the first responders and all of those who have been impacted by losing their house or having to leave. Please bless the weather, that it will stop blowing so that they are able to get the fires under control. Again, we are grateful for all of thy many blessings, and we say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you, Councilmember Collin, Councilmember Dixon. We appreciate that. All right, we'll move on to item number 3, our public presentation. This is for residents that are attending this meeting. They will be allotted 2 minutes to express a concern or ask a question about any issue that is not on the agenda. No action can or will be taken on any issue that is presented. Do we have anyone that would like to come up at this time? Please come forward and state your name and address for the record, please.
My name's Vicki Hall. I have a business on 3750 South, 2700 West in West Haven. I also put a snow shack on it 2 years ago, and then I took it off about a year ago. I had it for longer than that because it was too much work, but I've been trying to put a dog wash on it since October the 3rd. I've been trying to get on the planning committee. And for some reason, the contractors that are in it have been sent, the stuff's been sent back to them. And what has been said now is they want the planner, she wants drawings, which I have the old drawing. I already have a business. The dog wash is just like it is down to Triple Stop. And color percentages and landscape. My business is already landscaped. The dog wash is already color coordinated. So I don't know, we can't understand it. And the contractor would have came, but he's in California, would have had to drive back and forth. So that's what I'm trying to get, is some information on what to do here. Because it's been 4 months and we can't even get on the agenda, and he's paid the $800.
Okay, well, thank you for presenting that. Stephen, you got some information on that?
I actually do.
Oh, do you?
Yeah,
Okay.
she's actually been provided a list of the things that were missing, and so is her. And her son actually also called and asked for clarification as to the things that needed to be presented. And I emailed him the same list that she was presented. She's just missing a bunch of different things.
There's 3 things: a drawing, a color percentage, and landscape. Could I just send you the packet to all of you so you can look at it and then tell me back?
It just needs to go to our Stephen right over here.
Is he a planner?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
So he would be able to help out with that.
Everything else, my business, the snow cone check, everything went good. But when I was in Roy because I owned the ground where Starbucks was, I had a hassle for nearly 10 years, but they didn't want me to do that in the first place. So, because they wanted that whole thing like they've got. And so I wondered if that's what was going on now. So.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
I'll call you.
Counsel, legal counsel?
Yes.
Shuki, is Stephen have her information by chance via email?
I'm not sure if he.
Okay.
I think he does, because she did provide an application.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay. Yeah. We'll take care of that. Thank you. Appreciate that. All right. Anyone else like to come forward? Okay, seeing none, we'll move forward on item 4. These are our upcoming events. We have a change on our senior lunch bunch. It's advertised at January 29th, but it's actually the 22nd. And so hopefully everyone will get the news out on that, and we'll send that out in our billing, I think, and make sure that we have that out, set out for everybody. So is there any other upcoming events from the council that the public needs to know about?
I don't know that the public needs to know about, but we are so excited to take the youth council to the local officials day at the Capitol. We have 6 of our youth council that will be going on the 22nd. And so we've been trying to do this for several years, and this is the first year that it's kind of worked out for us. So we will be taking some pictures, and I will ask them to come back and report out on what we learned while we were there. So
Yeah, that's fantastic. Okay, anything else from the council?
Just had a couple of winners for Yard of the Month for the holiday season. Those have been posted on social media. I appreciate Councilmember Colin Dixon for their submissions. Both of them were selected, so appreciate that. And I think the residents were pretty happy about, receiving the award. So thank you.
Very good. Okay, anything else? Okay, we'll move on to item 5, which is council updates, which I think we got just a second ago. Is there any other council updates you'd like to share?
I can. The Art Council is moving forward with putting on some art workshops again this year. So they will be having their first one in March, and they're setting up also kind of a music night, working towards figuring out how that will work and doing that monthly over at the barn. So as those details are finalized, we'll publish those, but they're excited.
Good, thank you. Appreciate that. Anything else? Any other updates? Okay, I know I had the chance and honor to meet with the council, each council member individually, and go over some things. That was really helpful for myself. I shared some information with our city manager for some updates. And thanks again for your time on that. Really appreciate that overall. On item 6 on here, our action on consent agenda. Our first one is for our city council minutes that were held December 18th on 2024. Item B is Randy Marriott Construction for $55,326.18. And item C is for Jacobson Building Services for $74,976.83. Is there any questions or concerns on the consent agenda for the council? If not, I'm ready for a motion.
Move to approve consent agenda items A, B, and C.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the council on our consent agenda? We'll do a roll call on that. Overall, Councilmember Morse,
Aye.
Councilmember Call,
Aye.
Councilmember Schwab, Councilmember Dixon,
aye.
and Councilmember Saunders.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Move on to item 7, action on resolution 01-2025, acceptance by the city of certain areas in the Green Farm project for connectivity of the city's trail system. For city manager, would you like to take this?
Yes, please.
Okay,
Thank you. So there's two items that are contemplated under this one action item, which is to receive a trail easement through an existing HOA property. And the other one is a quick claim deed that would deed property to us. Both transactions or both parcels are used for trails. We do have an existing trail that's been established that crosses under 400 South or 4000 South and continues on Green Farm Way. And right now and it continues on the other side, backside of some of the lots in Green Farms, but there's a gap that's missing that we need to ensure that we have public access through that one parcel, which again is the HOA. It's the entry feature as you go further in. I think there's a map that's attached, so I'm hoping that everyone's familiar with the location. And the other is what was a street that connected, I think it was 4450 West.
Yes.
And as you know, it was vacated and repurposed as a trail for a portion of it. And so that parcel would be quitclaim deed to the city as well. And that provides a continuous hard surface for anyone with mobility issues to be able to navigate through to, to the trail system. So with that, I would just answer any questions that you may have.
Sean, just a couple of questions. So the portion that we would be taking on, it's not paved, right?
Well, so the quitclaim deed is paved. That's the parcel that was 4450, which has been repurposed for the trail. So that portion's paved.
Oh, okay.
The other portion is, I think it's crushed granite and compacted. I mean, that would be just my hunch. So, and that's a 6-foot trail bed with that type of material. And
Is that, trying to understand if that's, if that is in between two areas that are paved, because it looked like we were maybe contemplating resurfacing that one area.
it is between two areas that are paved.
Okay.
So one is conveyed by the quitclaim deed, the one that is hard surface. The one that we're talking about now is an easement agreement. So within that easement agreement, it does essentially, what's being proposed is that the trail stay as it is and that the HOA maintains it and that the city has public access through it. But it also reserves the right for the city at some future point to pave that portion. If we do pave it, then we're responsible for the ongoing maintenance of the paved portion of the trail and any restoration work to the landscaping that adjoins. That would be within the limits of the work that would be done to make it a hard surface. Having said that, there's no immediate plans. I'm not necessarily proposing or there hasn't been any concerns expressed about the surface material. I just felt like, it'd be wise to have more options for the city in the future to accommodate a more direct path that consisted of a hard surface from one trail to the segment to the other trail segment.
Right. And we don't happen to have a estimate if we were to pave that, do we?
I do not.
At this point, probably not.
I do not. And in part, I'm not really sure even what material we would use for the hard surfacing. It's a 6-foot wide. And so, some of those lay down machines, I'm not, and maybe Ryan or the mayor have a better sense. That width is a little unusual. And so potentially it's concrete or some other type of hard surface.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, typically we would use asphalt for those. We pave trails quite a bit in the city with asphalt.
Yeah.
You have another question? Council, what's the liability for snow removal under each of these options? If we were to pave it, or just as is, leaving it crushed, are we responsible for that now?
You're talking about the easement?
Correct.
So if we pave it, we are completely responsible for snow removal. With the crushed, I think it's going to be harder to really remove snow. So, I mean, that's a little bit, and Sean, remind me again because we made some changes last minute, but we're not responsible for the upkeep if we don't change it from the crushed granite, right?
Correct.
So I would say if we pave it, we're responsible. If we don't pave it and we just leave it, it's the HOA's responsibility.
Okay. If we were to pave it and it's still an easement, are we liable if somebody fell?
Well, no more than I think we would be on any other piece of trail that we have.
Okay.
I mean, there are things that happen, like we're and we have one going on right now that we really didn't know that,
Yeah.
something happened on it and then somebody got hurt and it really wasn't our, it wasn't our fault whatsoever, but it's still, so I don't think that we'd have any more liability than we normally would.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I
Yes.
would maybe just add, and maybe Amy can speak to this. I mean, there is some language within the easement agreement that says that they'll maintain it safely. So each party, under their care to maintain the facility, uses that word. And so whether that, maybe shifts some of the burden from one to the other as far as who is responsible to maintain it based upon the surface type, that might be something to consider in the analysis.
Just as a recommendation on here to, on the resolution that I'd be required to sign on here, if it passes, on here, it talks, I think it's the fourth up from the resolution from the bottom, the whereas, where it says the city finds that there are 2 sections of trail in the green farm development that would be advantageous to acquire. And I think just that word took me off guard a little bit. Is it acquire, or is it just, what other word would we put in there if we're basically utilizing the property or getting permission to utilize that property?
Acquire,
Does that make sense?
does it say this to acquire an easement? Maybe we get a little bit more specific, and say fee simple and an easement, maybe that gives some clarity to it.
If we added that, just an easement to it, because we're not really purchasing the ground, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe we could put in that it's more of a, just acquire an easement. Is that,
Well, one of them we're actually acquiring, the other, fee simple, the other one is the easement. So you could put that would be advantageous to acquire a fee simple deed and a use easement.
it has it on the second one up on the whereas, with the developer and the city have worked together and have found it mutually beneficial if the city acquired an easement, which that has that wording in it, not above, but for one of the trail sections and a deed for another section of the trail. Does that clarify it?
I would suggest we just take out the fourth one up
Okay.
because it's like I fixed it one spot. I wrote it and then we changed the language in the easement. And so I apologize. I fixed the one spot but didn't catch the other one. So yeah, just take out that fourth one up. And then I think you're good.
Okay.
Why are we interested in an easement right now? We don't have any intentions. Why do we want this easement at this moment?
Well, so the easement provides connectivity between one existing trail segment and one that's two trail segments that have been constructed and deeded to the city. And so without the easement, then, on a practical level, this may not even matter. But on a legal level, if the HOA decided, they were tired of running through it, or for whatever reason, they could essentially try to close that off. And that's what this provides is, they're essentially giving us a right to use the property for the public to essentially traverse the property that they own.
Other questions from the council? If not, I'm ready for a motion.
I will go ahead and make a motion that we approve Resolution 01-2025, acceptance by the city of certain areas in the Green Farm project for connectivity of the city's trail system. And in the resolution, we would strike the 4th paragraph from the bottom.
Second?
Like, is that right?
Of the first page.
On the first page.
You good with the second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the council on this resolution? Okay, we'll do a roll call on this one. Councilmember Dixon.
Aye.
Councilmember Saunders.
Aye.
Councilmember Call.
Hi.
Councilmember Swap.
Nay.
And Councilmember Morse.
Aye.
Okay, so Motion carries. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. All right, we'll move on to our next one on here. Item 8, action on resolution 02-2025, agreement between West Haven City and Landmark Design for long-range land use planning services and GBD for landscape architectural services.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the city put out a request for qualifications for 2 different types of professionals. And in some cases, some of these professionals have similar skill sets, but specifically the city was wanting to have a consultant that it could call on as needed to help with planning projects and with landscape architecture projects. And I think both of those themes are needed from the city from time to time. I do believe that with public spaces that investing in a professional who has the ability to design and provide a benefit, long-term benefit to the city for, what the actual property looks like from aesthetic standpoint, but also with the understanding of maintenance needs and just the success of the overall planting over time. So at any rate, we put out that request. We did get a really good response. Councilmember Swap has suggested that we use Utah Procurement, a website, and that has yielded some really good results. We had 12 qualified applicants. We did shortlist it and do oral interviews with 3 in each discipline. And as I mentioned, some of these professionals have their skills cross over from planning to landscape architecture. And when I say landscape architecture, I'm talking about a licensed landscape architect. And we interviewed those and scored them, and all of them, it was the situation where all of them really could do the job. And in fact, for that reason, we wanted to preserve some of the work that we did and include them in essentially a pool that we could call on from time to time, and we felt like their particular skill set would translate better to a project. So what you have before you is a resolution that would enter into on-call contract with 2, and those would be the primary professionals that we would use. And I do think having individuals who help the city over time and we develop a relationship, and more importantly, they develop an understanding of the city and what our needs are will yield the best results. And for land use planning, helping us with some planning projects that are currently budgeted, it would be Landmark Design. And they are also licensed landscape architects. And from time to time, we might use them in that role. The other is GBD, which is, I think it's G Brown Design, and they've done some work for the city in the past. And, before I was affiliated with the city, and they, those who sat on the panel seem to think that they did a really good job and would like to continue to have their expertise in that way. So, and as I mentioned, there was 4 other professionals. I think it's 3 that we put in a pool that we could call on too, if needs be. So, anyways, I'm thrilled because I do think that this will give us some additional resources, and these are projects that I think the public will appreciate. Over time, whether it's a planning document that provides a clear direction for the city, or whether it's it's a streetscape or a park project, and we just have design that's well done. I think both of those things will be of value to the public over time.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Questions from the council?
Mr. Mayor, if I could just clarify too. So there's no obligation in these arrangements to use them for any particular project, and it's really the city engaging them based upon what our needs are and budgeted funds. So this doesn't necessarily obligate us to anything. It really, we essentially have done the procurement process up front, and because we've gone through this process, we don't need to do it every time that there's a project. So that's one of the other benefits from this approach.
I think as I was reading through this, it did say that pricing, because set up the way that it is, that for the 3-year period, they can change that yearly.
Well, there's two different arrangements, and I'm glad you're bringing that up. Or that's a good catch and something that needs to be clarified. For Landmark Design, it's a hold for 3 years. For G Brown Design, it's a hold for 1 year, because that was essentially the requirements in the RFQ. But then there is some increases allowed there. I did think it was appropriate for GBD, in part because there was a vast difference in their rates between the other landscape architects and them. And in that case, I felt like the city was really getting an advantage because of their price point, but I also felt like it was fair to consider some increases. And these would be increases to their rates, so it wouldn't necessarily be directly to us. And so for all those reasons, I felt like that seemed reasonable, but Landmark was good to hold for 3. And Landmark's designs were, again, their cost structure was pretty consistent with the others. I think GBD was really the only outlier in cost that I can recall.
Thanks for clarifying
Yeah.
that. Any other questions from the council?
No, that was my only question because it said rates are subject to change. So
Then, of course, I've got one question on the resolution. On the section 1 on the resolution, on the second whereas, when it gets,
It was a rough week last week. Okay, I'm sorry.
when I'm reading through, I just run across them once in a while. But on the third line down there, it says limited to entering into an agreement with regarding, and if we could maybe just delete that with in that, would that be appropriate?
So the third whereas?
No, the second whereas down, but the third line, limited to entering the agreements
Regarding.
with regarding, it probably should just be
regards.
agreements regarding. Does that sound right?
Yep.
Ironically enough, I believe that was in the last resolution too.
Good to know. I missed that one, but I saw that one.
You can remove the with. Just
Sometimes when I'm just reading through it, it just like, that makes sense, but I don't know. It didn't make sense to me on that one, so. Anyway, so I
that's
guess,
kind of a legalese sort of thing. The way that's phrased. You can take out the with, and I will try to take them out of the resolutions moving forward.
okay. Sounds good. Anything else from the council? Okay, well, I'm ready for a motion on this.
Move that we adopt resolution 02-2025, agreement between West Haven City and Landmark Design for long-range land use planning services and GBD for landscape architectural services.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the council on this resolution? Okay, we'll do a roll call on this one. Councilmember Swap, Councilmember Saunders.
Aye.
Councilmember Call.
aye.
Councilmember Morse.
Aye.
And Councilmember Dixon.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries on that. Thank you. Item 9 is discussion and possible action on letter of support for our 2025 ramp grants. Do we want to have
Oh, yes.
Jerry come up?
Yes. Thank you.
Sorry, I don't understand.
Not Sarity, come on.
That's for somebody else.
Well, I'm happy to be here with you tonight. So these grants are due on Friday, and I think there's really some great projects that you've picked out. You just never know those, so we will see. So maybe I'll just go through what each of them are, and then if you have any questions. So we are submitting 3 under Parks and Recreation, and the first one is the Rodeo Arena Bleacher Expansion Project. As you know, we have added on some bleachers, but we figured that we needed a little bit more, and so it was for that. The Windsor Park Playground and then a pavilion at Privedale Park. And then we were applying for 3 in the arts and museums. So we have one for the West Haven Days Rodeo and Queen Contest, for the West Haven Days Concert with the celebration, and then the West Haven Arts Program. And this year with the arts program, it is not only going to include the Arts Festival, but it's going to include a once-a-month art class that they're going to be offering for residents in the city. So is there any questions on any of the grants? I feel like we should score well. There are private funds, for every grant now that they give you maximum points. If you have 50% that is matched, and then you get another point if you have 20%, which are coming from private funds, but we either land donated or we have, we can use park impact fees, which are considered a private fund. And so I feel like that we should have everything in there to score. So
Looks great.
It does, especially for the long roundabout process that we go through sometimes. So good job, Sharon.
Hey, we got it done early this year.
We did.
I know.
Days early.
I always think, am I a procrastinator? And maybe it's me. I always feel like we're right at the very end. So, but if you do decide to vote to pass the support letter, then we'll have you sign that, and we'll include those in with the copies that we take over, which I think is always great to look that they have the support.
Do you have a clean copy we can pass through real quick, or is there a
I have a clean
Oh.
copy right here. I haven't written on
This one's
mine.
not smudged.
stapled or anything?
It's stapled. Do you want it
Uh,
not stapled?
Copy of the letter. Yep, we do.
Oh, we're good.
Yeah.
Or I should say, Emily does.
So, and that's due tomorrow, is it?
Friday.
Friday.
Yes, but we have to turn in 15 copies of each one. So I thought if I could get that tonight, I'll come tomorrow, because I kind of confiscate the copy machine for a little while. It takes a little bit to get all those printed. So, okay.
Pass down and get it to you. Thanks again for
Okay.
your work on this.
Yes,
Really
yes.
appreciate your time. and
You're
effort.
welcome. And be thinking, because the cycle is opened up for the Utah Outdoor Recreation Grant. And I went to a seminar on that, and we have till March 15th. So, okay, let's decide before March 14th what we would like to do. But if there's another project, last year we received $50,000 to put in the amphitheater at the Privedale Park. So if you have something else, they said they even have more funds this year. They say that, and then everybody applies. But anyway, if you can come up with something that you would want to,
Something we could do with the new pond.
Well, let's be thinking about that so we can get back, because we
Yeah.
got March, right? Is that
yeah,
deadline?
March. So yeah, so if we could maybe even by, the middle of February or something, it's a little more intensive to write, just a little bit. They have a little more moving parts to it, but
Here you go.
okay, thank you very much.
Done already.
Thank you, Sherry.
Yeah, thank you very
Thanks,
much.
Sherry.
We move fast with signing. We just don't move fast with the rest of the,
It's a tough decision.
it is a tough decision. It's a lot of money out there. So
Yes, go ahead.
You're probably getting to making the motion.
Getting there.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
To make the motion to actually formally,
Oh,
is
yes.
it listed
Yeah,
for
we're-
action?
We're going to do that. We just-
yeah,
We wanted to make sure we got the signatures done and pass it on, so we're good to go. So let's go ahead with the action on this. So I'm ready for a motion on that.
I'll make a motion to approve letter of support for 2025 ramp grants.
second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this one? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. And again, thank you for that. All right, we'll move on to item 10, action on resolution 03-2025 for agreement between West Haven City and Y2 Analytics for a community survey. So I know in 2021, we had this done. It was good to have it done because we hadn't had a formal one done before. It really worked out actually pretty well, even though it seems like we don't get a lot of residents that participate. I think they sent out, if I remember right, last time it was around 1,800 they sent out in the survey, and we got back about 600, which they considered really, really well for their survey. So I think this is something that we've talked about a little bit during our discussions, and hopefully we can look forward to working on this a little bit to get this done as well. Any Questions from the council on this?
The only question I have is, it states that, well, in the staff report, it talks about a 10% discount if we provide addresses or information on the utility accounts. Does that mean that if we provide that, they'll only be using that? Because we do have plenty of residents who don't receive any sort of utility bill from West Haven City, so they would not be randomly selected.
I think if we could provide any addresses out there that we can, but I think that helps them to do their job, is to get the addresses out.
No, I understand that. I'm just worried about leaving residents out of it simply because they don't receive a utility bill.
How else would you suggest we get some?
I have no idea, but I don't think that's necessarily a random survey.
I'm wondering if because last time I don't think we provided the addresses to them last time.
Yeah. Well, I
Mailed everything out last time.
Well, Mr. Mayor, if I could just maybe add to the conversation, and this may or may not be helpful. I kind of admit that going in, but to your point, Nina, I think you're worried about maybe excluding people. I think from the contractor's point, they're just looking to get a sample size large enough that they can say that it's significant.
I do understand that. The problem is that the sample will not include anybody in apartments, possibly townhomes.
No,
You're leaving out a demographic, in my opinion.
you're saying, and that's, yeah, that
Yeah.
makes more sense. So, I mean, the other option would be is not to provide them, and they would get their, their address pool from other ways, or contact
Right.
list from other ways.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I'm just concerned about leaving a large section, a large demographic out of it.
I think, I was just asking, see if Councilmember Call remembered, but it seemed like we did have some that had townhomes and apartments, even though that wasn't part of the billing to them before. because we
Did
got
it
some-
list, did it say, I live in like you had to list your type of
It
home?
had some.
I don't
think we
remember.
did have some,
If they
so-
own a townhome, then that's different than there's a chance they would be paying a utility bill. Not all townhomes within West Haven pay a utility, like they're not all on West Haven Special Services District. They're not all on the garbage either. Rentals would anybody renting is probably going to be left out of it because most likely whoever owns it is paying the utilities.
Is it the city's intention to provide them the list for a 10% discount or no? I mean, that
is the
might settle
total
the
price
problem.
18,600?
That is the price. And so it'd be $1,800 you would save, but I think Nina's point's well taken, at least on me.
I think we could get in touch
understand
with
that.
them and talk to them about that.
Yeah.
See what else we could do, because I think we should provide the list, but we don't have to provide the comprehensive list completely. Maybe we could do something else and provide some other
Yeah.
type of, I don't know how we would do that, but maybe they could do their thing with it as well to get those people that we're not reaching out to.
Yeah, I think it's worth a conversation with them to see how we can at least, I mean, we've got a lot of apartments and those types of homes.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be reached.
It's a good idea.
I think you would just hope that the random sampling includes a really diverse, right? Those that
Random.
have lived here for 20 years and those that have lived here for 2
Mhm.
years, you know?
Well,
I
and
mean,
did-
you can't ensure that, right? It's random, but you hope that it goes to all parts of the city
Thought we
Right.
got
and nobody is left
a
out.
pretty good group last time that.
Did we
'cause they're
provide
comments.
addresses last time? Do you remember?
I don't
I
know.
think so.
I
I
don't
don't
think we
think I
did. I
remembered
remember
either.
being a part of that committee, and I don't remember this 10% being
Right.
it may have been, but I just don't recall that.
And I also feel like too, in that discussion, we need to address some of the questions before that goes out to make sure that we're updated on questions and that we're touching what we're seeking, from this survey. Because again, there may be some outdated things on there that we don't really need to know, or we need to update it so that it's good for us to understand.
Or maybe there's even some new questions we want to ask.
Right.
Yeah,
There was we had a committee last time to decide,
I was
so
on
that
it.
might be a good
Yeah.
idea as well.
So I think there's a few things we could probably work on before we do the survey, if the council agrees with that.
yeah.
So I guess the question is, do we want to move forward with it? And do it?
I think it's a good idea. I guess I'm a little bit unsure of now, before we had 600 responses and now we're saying we're going to have 400 responses and we have that many more residents than we did 3 years ago. So the numbers dropped and the percentage 4.8 margin of errors.
I think
You know.
weren't those interviews, 400 interviews that they have discussions?
Says a minimum of 400 interviews will be gathered online.
Data collection is 400 online interviews, which would be basically the questionnaire.
But it should be a percentage of the total population, so that should increase based on an increased population, I would think.
And
I would hope. I just don't know if we're saying, okay, we got the number, we're done, or we're saying this is the window of time and then we're going to close at the end of the window of time. I mean, looking at this timetable is pretty quick, right? And that's why I was thinking too, like last time we looked over the questions because there were some things that we didn't understand in the way that they were worded, or that wasn't important, or we want to focus on this rather than them just presenting it and putting it out.
And Mr. Mayor, and council, my understanding is that we can make this schedule to fit our needs. In fact, I think the schedule was based upon an express need of potentially trying to use the data in time to make some budgeting decisions. And so Rob and I did have an introductory conversation with them, and we kind of talked through, and they may have gotten the impression based upon that as far as the timeline. But I think they would respond to whatever our needs are relative to the time frame, I would anticipate.
Maybe this is something we could ask real quick and see if this is important enough. Does the council want to try and put together a couple people on the council to review the questions? Or do we want to try and meet with them as a group? And
Oh, I think it'd be faster just to assign a couple people if we're trying to meet a deadline.
yeah,
That's just my opinion.
it could be, I just don't know if the council wants to be more involved with the questions or review them before, or we'd go through the committee side and then send it to the council for approval or for,
Or do it in a work meeting, maybe.
introduction.
Oh, we did it last time?
We did.
Yeah.
So if the questions, I feel like the questions need to be updated. We did,
Mhm.
they did
I
have a lot
agree.
of questions about Weber County Sheriff's Department. And we may want to alter some of that a little bit to see how that goes. There may be some
What
other-
is the committee it goes through again?
We just had some council members.
That went
So
with
you
the
formed
funds.
your own committee,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and the whole council approved it.
So I have that.
Yeah. We have time for that. I don't think we need to rush this. This is too big of a important document for us to have to rush it.
The other
Well,
thing I was-
especially since
I was
we
wondering
used it
if
so
we
much
have
last
time to have Y2 Analytics come and answer some of the questions that have been raised
Well,
tonight
they would do that during the committee.
before we approve doing it,
Yeah, they came and did a presentation for
They-
us.
They did it for the committee, and then I think they
Did it for the-
came in for the council meeting as well and did a presentation
Okay.
for the whole council.
And that was our first time, but
Mhm.
I'm sure they'd probably be
Some of the questions about the 10%, like, seems like we ought to try get that discount and then see if there's a way to provide them or have them get the other information so that it goes to a wide group of people. But just things like that, maybe working through that with them directly and
And we do have action too. I mean, there is a 5% discount if we do it more often, but I think every 3 to 4 years really gives us what we need for the cost of it.
yeah,
That's up to you.
yeah, it's
That's fine.
pretty expensive. So I think,
Yeah, but it's helpful and I think it's pretty accurate the way that they do it. But
Mm.
so would that be okay if maybe we try and if we have anyone that would like to be on that committee, maybe we could do that. Would you be okay with working
Absolutely.
that way?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, do we have anyone that would like to serve on that committee?
I would like to serve.
Would-
Yes, for my statistics
Oh, said
class
he would.
this semester.
All right, Councilmember Schwab and Councilmember Dixon then, that's okay? We could get together with and let them know that we just want to form a little committee to go over the questions.
Okay, and
We'll get back to the council with that. That'd be all right?
So this doesn't say anywhere the number that they will send out.
I think that will actually come when they work with the committee. That's, if I remember correctly, when we did this last time, a lot of that information came out during the committee meeting. A lot of that was worked out during the meetings with them.
Okay. Well, why don't we plan on that? If everyone's okay with that, I think we just need to, if that's what we want to do, we just probably need to move on this resolution then and move forward with it. If everyone is okay with that. So we'll do that through a vote. I'm ready for a motion unless anyone has any more questions.
Move to adopt resolution 03-2025 agreement between West Haven City and Y2 Analytics for a community survey.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further on this resolution from the council? Okay, we'll do a roll call on this. Councilmember Morse,
Aye.
Councilmember Dixon,
Aye.
Councilmember Schwab,
Aye.
Councilmember Call,
Aye.
and Councilmember Saunders.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Thanks for that, and I think this will be beneficial to the city overall for the information. We move on to item 11, presentation, city manager for our quarterly financial audit report.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. Attached is the quarterly report. I think you'll find some familiar vendors on that list. And so unless there's questions, I think it's ready for your consideration.
Anyone have questions?
Very clean report. Thank you for this.
And that was, I would give credit to Amy Davies. They do a great job, I think, on the city's behalf in helping us prepare these reports.
We retract the statement made and give it to Amy Davis.
There we go.
Yeah, yeah.
No, this looks
Absolutely.
really nice though, and I had a couple things that I talked to city manager about previous to the meeting, and there was just a couple things on here, but I know that we need to probably just focus a little bit too on for the 2700 walking trail on there. I know that was kind of expensive, I thought, to put down that road chip for 2700, but he's going to check with our department heads on that to make sure that's what the total was for and not extend it into something else, but I think everything looked pretty good on here. Are there any other questions? Okay, that was just a presentation. Move on to our next item then, item 12.
Actually did have one question. I don't know if you can answer this, Sean, but on the animal services for the Weber County,
Yes.
I know there was some discussion on the county increasing costs due to staffing levels and that sort of thing. And there was some discussion around those increases because they had maybe moved to a no-kill policy. And I wondered whatever happened there, if you know, if the rates got increased, if there was, maybe this is a question for the county, but
No, I think, yeah, I can share what I do know and follow up and get some more information on it. But I do believe that an anticipated increase in costs, I'm not sure that I think it's Chad Averett. I think he's the director there. And I'm not sure the commission approved, his complete proposal, but I do think that it was approved in part. And so we'll anticipate some of those costs occurring with our next budget year. I think the proposed changes coincide with our fiscal year, even though the county's fiscal year is a calendar year. Just another point of clarification, as I understood the issue, part of the cost and the need for increased staffing wasn't necessarily the no-kill policy, because I believe that's been in effect for years. I think it was related to the fact that the shelter was supplementing their workforce with inmates. And at some point in the process, they felt like, that scenario was no longer acceptable. And so it's trying to make up the shortfall between those resources and the need to hire people.
Yeah, the county added 2 people to animal services on their budget. So I guess until they get those hired, I don't know if they have or not yet.
I just wondered if there was any discussion over maybe going back to the way it was. If there was a cost saving there. Because I think, I mean, this sounds terrible maybe, but I think if there's animals there for an extended period of time, it might be cheaper just to put them to sleep. So, rather than continually care for a lot of animals that people actually don't want or claim. So it might be just a question to bring up and see if there's been some studies there.
I think they would get a ton of backlash for that.
Maybe it would be a resident survey thing, you know, do you want to,
I definitely don't want to see it on our survey. Let Weber County put that one out.
that's what I mean. It's the county service, right?
I don't want my
So-
name attached to any of that.
Do you want to pay this much money or do you want to,
Just kill
you
them
know,
all.
save, Rex for indefinitely?
Mhm.
But
Okay, kind of brought the mood down a little bit there.
I think there should be a kill policy.
All right. All right, anything else? Okay, we'll move on. Item 12, advice and consent of one Arts Council member appointment submitted by myself, Mayor Vanderwood, to fill one 2-year term position. The new term will be from January 15th of 2025 through December 31st of 2026. And that name submitted was for Crystal Schmidt. So I just wanted to get that out to you. And this is another nice add, I think, to the Arts Council overall. Any questions or concerns? Okay, ready for a motion on that?
I make a motion that we give advice and consent for one Arts Council member for a 2-year term position from January 15th, 2025 through December 31st, 2026 for Crystal Schmidt.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Hi.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries for Crystal. We'll let her know. All right, item 13, advice and consent for one Community Events Committee member appointment submitted by myself, Mayor Vanderwood, to fill a 3-year term position. This new term will be from January 15th of 2025 through December 31st of 2027. And the name on there is a member that's currently serving and does a great job. It's for Colleen Hunter. Any concerns or questions on that?
As far as advice, I would just say that Colleen's an excellent member of not just the community, but this events committee, and has always been so good to help out. So would definitely give consent.
She's the one that does the cool Santa display here and everything on part of the holidays, which was just totally amazing. Santa always has a really good place to sit.
He does. Very good.
It's a no-brainer for me. Yeah.
Okay. So do we have a motion?
I'll move to approve advice and consent of one Community Events Committee member, Colleen Hunter, submitted by Mayor Vanderwood to fill one 3-year term position. The new term will be from January 15th, 2025 through December 31st, 2027.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this advice and consent? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries on that. We'll let her know. Item 14, advice and consent of one beautification committee member appointment submitted by myself, Mayor Vanderwood, to fill one 3-year term position. The new term will be from January 1st of 2025 through December 31st of 2027. And that name is Alika Murphy. You guys know who she is, right?
Heard her name
I think
before.
I'm familiar with
Yeah.
Alika.
Okay, she lives in West Haven.
I
and
didn't know she lived in West
I didn't know
Haven.
she
That
did
is-
either, so that's cool.
It's cool.
Shocker City. Right there. Anyway, that's the name submitted for this committee.
I'll make a motion to give advice and consent for one beautification committee member appointment to fill a 3-year term from January 1st, 2025 through December 31st of 2027, who is Alika Murphy.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this committee member? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. I'll let her know on that one. Our next item on here is for a discussion for council assignments. Again, that meeting was very helpful, and we went through with the council, and the council provides a liaison service, I think, to these committees that you guys have approved on, and they help a lot as far as that goes. So what we have overall, we have Councilmember Morse, Nina Morse for our Mayor Pro Tem. She will continue another year in that. We have she also is part of our Utah League of Cities and Towns representative, and also our audit committee. And we just assigned her to a new position that is kind of our Weber School District liaison. So she'll be involved with the school district on there. So we're looking forward to her time spent there. We also have Councilmember Carrie Call. She's pretty loaded with their events committee overall and arts council liaison. Those two committees are pretty big and a lot of time spent on those. So that will be Councilmember Call's liaison assignments. Councilmember Saunders, Ryan Saunders, was over the liaison for the beautification committee, the audit committee, and the communities that care. And if there's anything I miss on here, let me know. I just wrote it down here just a little bit ago from my memory, so I could have missed. But those are the items on for Councilmember Saunders. We have Councilmember Dixon, Kim Dixon, for Youth Council, which is a big one for us, and we're glad she's moving forward with that. Our Historic Committee, which is also a big one for our city, and Emergency Services Liaison. And the Audit Committee. Thank you. I missed that one, so thank you. And
Are we allowed to have 3 council members on the audit committee?
As long as you don't have a quorum.
Well,
That
it's
is a
public
quorum.
Meeting.
You have 2?
We have 3.
It is a public meeting though, and I do notice it, so.
Okay,
Then you're okay.
we're good.
try though.
See, you see where I was getting with that. Okay. I didn't think you noticed.
I see it. Okay.
Mm.
And then we have Councilmember Ryan Swap, who is over our VIPS program, Volunteers in Police Service program. He's over our Trails and Parks liaison, and our West Haven Special Service District board member. And that's a non-paying board member. And then he's also on the audit committee as well. Anything I missed on here?
So there's 4 of us on the audit committee?
There's like 6. I know, I'm kidding. But you're on the audit committee, aren't you?
No,
No,
he's
My
not.
apologies.
Just the
I
3 of
wrote it
us.
down.
Okay, I'm like,
Hey, come on.
that's a new,
Maybe we're trading. Is there anybody that doesn't want to be on the?
It just
audit
never
committee?
stops.
everyone's on the audit committee. Everyone out there is
I
on the
like
audit
the audit
committee.
committee.
All right. So, and then myself, just so you're aware on here, I serve on the West Haven Special Service Board. I serve on the Weber Fire District Board. I serve on Weber Central Sewer District Board, the WACOG, I'm a WACOG member, and Community That Cares member, and the Utah League of Cities and Towns LPC member as well. So just a couple things to keep me busy on the side. So I just wanted to let you know, those are our assignments out there and for the public to know who's assigned to what. So thank you for the service that you give to the community and being on these committees. It's really helped, I think, involve the community much more and our residents a lot more in our community across the board. So thank you for that. Okay, I think from there, we'll move on to our next item on here, which is item 16, which is our executive session. The council will consider a motion to enter into a closed meeting for the purpose of a strategy session to discuss pending or reasonably imminent litigation and the purchase in exchange for lease of real property to be held in accordance with the provisions of Utah Code 52-4-205. So I would like to currently right now ask for a motion to move out of our regular session into an executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, we are